Kevin Markwick.
Uckfield FM.
The Sex Pistols. That was quite DJ the way I said that, wasn't it? God Save the Queen, so it must be 1977. It most certainly is. Hello 1977, what's happening? Well, Kevin, the Ford Fiesta goes on sale. Liverpool win their first European Cup. James Callaghan opens the M5. Honestly, it will get more interesting, I promise. Mark Bolan is killed in a car crash. Sorry, it's a real downer. Freddie Laker launches the first cut-price airline SkyTrain. And, of course, 1977 was the year of the Silver Jubilee. So it's Kevin Markwick here, and tonight I have a very special guest.
Good evening.
It's the dulcet tones of Phil Lott, all the way in from Los Angeles, California.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, It's a pleasure, mate. I was just depressed to learn that Phil's only 3 in 1970. Is that right?
Only 3 years old. I think probably ate some cake for the Jubilee.
Oh, what? So what kind of insight are you going to bring to the evening?
Well, I've some retrospective insight.
So, yeah. How was it? I was 2, I was coming up to my 15th birthday. So things were sprouting all over the place in an unpleasant fashion. Okay, I'm going to read from the script now. UK cinema admissions were the same as the previous year at 103 million, but the overall trend is towards that all-time low in 1984 of 54 million. 54 million.
Not a lot, is it?
It's not good, is it?
It's not a lot.
So on the bright side, in 1977, we still had twice as many people going to the cinema as in the mid-80s. Hey. This will actually be the first year when the whole show comes from the films that played in Uckfield. I haven't actually got to I haven't got to go back and pick up, like the good...
The old ones that came...
Well, no, the ones, like The Godfather, which never played in Uckfield.
Oh, yeah, okay, the ones that went to Eastbourne.
Or wherever, that just didn't play in Uckfield, that were classic films that we really should mention if we're trawling through the 70s. I should say that's what we're doing. Trawling through the 1970s, through the lens of my childhood and growing up in a sort of provincial cinema. Yes. That wasn't very good, was it? Okay, so what were the Uckfield admission numbers? I don't know what they were for that year, actually. And I also gave you a bum steer last week because we have 2 full years to go before the building works take place. So what was playing then? Well, some classic films, it has to be said. The year started off with a long-forgotten British musical film, The Slipper and the Rose. Have you ever seen it?
Classic.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's terrible.
Not even a bit.
It's really hideous. It's a version of Cinderella. Musical version of Cinderella.
I want to say I've heard of it, though.
Yeah, it had a big budget and a big cast, included Richard Chamberlain and fresh-faced Gemma Craven. And despite the songs by the great Sherman Brothers, it was pretty ropey. Yeah, Sherman Brothers, who wrote Jungle Book and Cheese Bang Bang.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I've seen documentaries on those chaps.
Yeah, they were brilliant.
Brilliant.
But we started the year with the 3rd in the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry series, The Enforcer. Pretty standard stuff, really. Harry Callahan is the bluff, straight-talking and straight-shooting San Francisco cop whose natural misogyny...
The 70s.
Right? Yeah, it's the 70s.
It was the 70s, so... It's
kind of squinty. I've been reading this book about Where Eagles Dare.
Oh, yeah.
That is hilarious. It's called Broadsword Calling Danny Boy. And it has... it just describes basically Eastwood's acting style as squinting.
Which you'd have to say was true, if you think about it.
That's all he does is squint. And he does squint. I watched about 10 minutes of Dirty Harry, this Enforcer the other, and that's all he does, is he? So you can tell when he's cross because he squints.
Yeah.
You can tell when he's happy because he squints. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I did have a whole bunch of stuff about it, but what we'll do is we'll play the music. It was by Jerry Fielding. Do you know much about Jerry Fielding? I don't know anything about him at all.
I did look him up.
Because I think the first 2 were done by
Lalo Schifrin.
Is it Lalo or Lalo? I always have this.
Lalo.
Is it Lalo?
I just mumble it whenever I meet him.
Hello, Mr. Schifrin. You spit all over him. Oh, Mr. Schifrin. Anyway, this is called Prologue and main title. So that's from The Enforcer, the third in the Dirty Harry series. Did I give you the numbers on that one? Not sure I did. Oh, here we go. Played on January the 23rd for 7 days, and a not very exciting 574 admissions. All these kind of tough films are really better left for the Sunday 1 or 2 day bookings, as they would do those kind of numbers for however long they played. So if it just played on the Sunday or the Monday, it would have not been dissimilar number of admissions. The Enforcer would actually play 3 or 4 more times in just that way, you know, just for Sunday 1s and 2s and here and that sort of thing, and double features actually as well. The legendary Sam Peckinpah was now nearing the end of his long and largely controversial career, but still had a couple of hits left in him. His films had always been difficult to make, principally because Peckinpah was a larger-than-life character and was given to drinking heavily on set. He would argue with pretty much everyone, it seems, from the studio to the crew, but his films were unarguably of importance and always entertaining in some way. Cross of Iron was one of his final films and his only war film. It was an Anglo-German film, so no nasty studio entanglements, but was a much lower budget than Peckinpah was used to. Tells the story of a German infantry unit on the Eastern Front during World War II and the conflict between pompous Prussian officer Maximilian Schell and battle-hardened NCO James Coburn. As a 15-year-old, the one thing that stuck in my mind, actually, is the guy getting his willy bitten off.
I actually do remember.
That's about what I remember from it.
But I would have been older when I saw it. So
yeah. No, well, because he said they go and see those ladies, and they bites his German arrangement off, and however,
he was cross.
He was very cross. Who wrote the score? Ernest Gold.
Oh yeah,
Ernest Gold wrote the score. This is called Steiner's Theme.
it, young man, get in the swing. Only ice cream is that cool zing. So make the evening a regular ball. Get the refreshment that's got it all. Cool, man, like ice cream.
Get yours now. Kevin Markwick.
105 Uckfield FM.
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Blue Jean Lady. Skinny white sailor, the chances were slender, the beauties were brief. Shall I mourn your decline with some Thunderbird wine and a black handkerchief? I miss your sad Virginia whisper. I miss the voice that called my heart. Sweet Jean Vincent, young and old and gone. Sweet Jean Vincent. Who slapped John? White face, black shirt, white socks, black shoes, black hair, white strap, bled white, dyed black. Sweet Jean Vincent, let the blue cats roll tonight. At the soccer ball in the Union Hall, the ball is their delight. They're a bobtail Benny taking uncanny anger. She's the one with the flying feet. But you can break her feet, they be sick or breeze. The feet is weak or weak. And you jump back honey in your dungarees, to sweater and a ponytail. Will you guess her age when she comes backstage? The hoodlums by their nails. Black gloves, white frost, black crepe, white lead, white sheep, black night, jet black, dead white. Sweet Jean Vincent.
Right, Sweet Jean Vincent from 1977, New Boots and Panties. Did you have that album? You ever had that album?
No, never had it. No.
Have you ever had New Boots and Panties? That wasn't a question you were expecting, was it?
Not at all.
I loved that album so much. It was in the age when you carried albums around with you like an idiot. And New Boots and Panties was an album I used to carry around. I mean, why would you do that?
With pride.
It's just ridiculous. But it was great. And my copy was so early, it didn't have sex and drugs and rock and roll on it. There you go. How very interesting is that, Kev? So we're going to talk about Taxi Driver. When did you last see Taxi Driver?
I saw it probably within the last year. Within the last year.
Yeah.
It's a film you think you've got to return to.
Well, what's interesting, because I sat and watched it the other night, about 2 nights ago, and you're absolutely right. But what's interesting in the context of Uckfield is nobody came to see it.
How many people?
Nobody came to see it. It was, Taxi Driver, 200 and... No, it wasn't. It was less than that. 137 people in a week.
In the context of all the films you've been talking about from the English,
Yes.
The English ones, they probably got confused with on the buses. it's now taxis. What next?
Well, the thing is, what's interesting, is that these films are seminal films from the 70s, yeah?
Seminal
films. So you've got Taxi Driver, Network,
All the President's Men,
all this
things,
stuff,
yeah.
And nobody in Uckfield came to see them. Now, does that mean... What I don't know is whether it was translated across, the rest of the country. I can't imagine, because again, culturally, Taxi Driver... But what I do remember is that I was a complete arse about it, because I couldn't understand why everybody at the cinema didn't think it was the greatest film they'd ever seen, and I was a really arrogant idiot hole.
Were you questioning them on the way out?
Oh, wait, no, I don't. Sorry, the staff.
Oh, right.
I couldn't understand why didn't you love this movie? This is like oh, really? This is like the greatest film I've ever seen.
Right.
And I'm still embarrassed at how I berated them for not...
Are you still embarrassed about what you think about Sideways in the same...
Whoa, let's not bring Sideways into
in the
this.
same vein?
Oh, so hang on. What have I written down about it? Yeah, landmark film in the 70s. But did the people of Uckfield go for it? No, they didn't. It was released in August 1976, according to the IMDb, and played in Uckfield on February the 6th. In 1977.
So I have a question about that.
Yeah,
I've been curious about that. I've been listening to this series in my house in Los Angeles, and I've been listening to you, and I'm wondering how did people possibly connect the dots from the film that came out a year ago, which must have been in the newspapers, and they must have been press about it. And then it comes out a year later. How do they know to go?
Well, they didn't, clearly, most of the time. But I don't know. I suppose that it was generally slower, wasn't it? It wasn't... This was actually... Did people feel the need at that time to rush out and see the film the opening weekend? Because actually the upcoming films, Jaws, which we covered last week, and the upcoming Star Wars, which we won't cover this year for all sorts of reasons, it didn't... there wasn't this rush to see a film. They were the films that kind of invented the opening weekend, weren't they?
The big blockbuster.
The big blockbuster.
Mid-70s,
got to see it. Da-da-da. Whereas at that, I think at that time, it didn't seem odd to me that we were playing films that late. I wasn't thinking as a 14-year-old, why aren't we showing that? Why aren't we showing that? It just arrived when it arrived. Now, Taxi Driver... however, is a very specific kind of a film, isn't it? It's actually an art house film, isn't it?
I could only imagine there were reviews flying around in Sight and Sound and in the newspapers that were saying it was worth watching.
But also, it was a 7-day booking, and if you've been following the show, you'll realise that a 7-day booking was important. It meant that you still had to play it for 7 days. So clearly he had to play it for 7 days. And then nobody shows up for it. It's like 9 people and 12 people... in a 310-seater single-screen cinema. It was a nightmare.
Well, you were right then.
Yeah.
You proved everybody right. You were right.
I don't know. It's kind of a conundrum. But, I'm just looking at what I wrote here, was that, not good. So it played 100... Oh, that's right. No, it was 325 admissions, of which 137 were on the Sunday. So the weekday business was appalling, and I do remember arguing with the other members of the staff who'd seen it that they were not at all surprised that it was a flop. They thought it was one of the worst films they'd ever seen. And I was quite clear they were all wrong, no doubt in the most pompous and insufferable way possible.
Do you remember what they said? Well, I'm curious about what they said.
It was boring and pointless. Pointless is a word that people often use, don't they, when they're describing films they don't like? Because actually, ultimately, does any film have a point?
Well...
other than...
Obviously, right, not
in and of itself.
Game-changing.
No, but Taxi Driver, still exists as a thing, doesn't it? Whereas the film that, I don't know, Amorous Milkman that came the week after, people still say, I don't know, it's kind of strange really, isn't it?
And by the way, I've got a quick question. So those prints that were coming into Uckfield a year after it got opened, had it been like going around the country?
Yeah, it must have been, yeah.
So was it knackered?
Well, I don't recall.
Or they didn't release
some
new
of them
prints?
were. No, they never made new prints. So what would happen was... they would, so they probably only made 50 prints of a film in those days. Whereas when you got to the big Harry Potters, and we were still on film, there was like 2,000 prints or 1,000 prints or whatever, because they went to multiple screens in the multiplexes.
Right, straight away.
Yeah, in one opening weekend. But no, there were 50 prints, and they would make their way around the country. So this would answer the question in some way, in that you had the West End would play it exclusively for several weeks.
Right.
Then there would be a North London release.
Right.
Can you imagine? And a South London release.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah. And then there'd be a Birmingham release, for the Midlands.
So it's gradually making...
And it would just make its way gradually around the country. So what I'm imagining is that it didn't make its way to the southern, as it would have been then, I suppose, TV area, until all those months later.
Wow.
But obviously nobody came to see it. That was the general malaise. It was on the curve was horribly downward. But we'll come up to films where suddenly we have 2,000 admissions in a week. Yeah. And they weren't brand spanking new. So, did people get in the car and go to Brighton? I don't know.
Right.
Unless we got a Ouija board or something, we're never going to find out the answer to these questions, are we? But the score we need to play because we're going to run right out of time. But we need to play some of the music from Taxi Driver, which of course was Bernard Herrmann, who had been one of the greatest. I mean, he was big Hollywood royalty, wasn't he?
What movies has he done?
Yes, Psycho. Yes, Psycho. Vertigo. Because he had all that big stuff with all the he had the big thing with Hitchcock going, didn't he?
Yeah.
Although my daughter saw it and called it pervertigo more like. So it was kind of funny. And so he was big Hollywood royalty, proper Hollywood royalty.
Old studio,
monster score. So, and Scorsese being such a film buff, obviously, felt that this would be a good thing, and they got hold of him to do it, and it was the last thing he ever did.
Didn't he famously turn it down initially?
Did he?
He apparently said something like, I don't do car movies.
I think
so.
Making that up.
I'll look it up. I'll look at the exact words, but I'm pretty sure I remember that story.
That's funny.
Of why you should always have a go and try people, because then he read the script and he said, I'll do that then.
Yeah. Because the script was quite something. Schrader. That's the thing. It was one of those films, wasn't it, where everybody was firing, if you'll forgive the analogy, firing on all cylinders. Yes, thank you. See what I did. So you got Scorsese, you've got Paul Schrader's script, De Niro's performance, and Bernard Herrmann's music. And I don't know who shot it. I should know.
Yeah. Hang on.
It was somebody famous, probably.
Very famous.
But, I watching it the other night and watching the, the taxi coming out of the steaming, the steam rising out of the pavement.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I mean, it really is. But that's shot really high contrast, differently than the rest of the film. It's quite interesting. I don't know what they did there. We could get quite geeky about that.
I could get geeky. It was Michael Chapman.
Right. And that's really high contrast, really strange looking shots, the opening shots. I'm not quite sure what they did there.
I might get a little bit nerdy and say it was high-speed film, stolen shot on the streets of New York.
There you go. See, this is why we have Phil here.
Nerds.
And we're already running so horribly, but we're going to run some of Taxi Driver. Here we go. Part of Bernard Herrmann's amazing score for Taxi Driver in 1976. Finally arriving in Uckfield in 1977 to total indifference. All right, we'll have a break now, and when we come back, you're nicked.
Something special, really different. Tastes great. Frankie's spicy pork and beef sausage in a sesame seed roll. Topped with mustard, tomato, or fruity sauce. Frankie's, the super hot dog. On sale at the kiosk now. Frankie's, from Lion.
Tell I've cheated there. That's actually from the TV show The Sweeney. So after one massive seminal flop, that's not a very nice sentence, is it? We're back in Blighty, and more specifically, the Metropolitan Police Force in London. The Sweeney was a massively popular TV series, and inevitably there was a movie version. Although I noticed the main tide of TV spin-offs seems to have subsided by now. In fact, this doesn't feel to be in the same camp as the more cheap and cheerful opportunist sitcom spin-offs. Putting the Sweeney on the big screen was a chance to be a bit tougher than was possible on TV, which seems a fair rationale. The violence and nudity actually earned it an X certificate, which is presumably what the producers were after. Everyone was present and correct. John Thor as old grumpy guts Inspector Reagan, and Dennis Waterman as his sidekick D.S. Carter. This time they were investigating a murder that implicates important government ministers and the big wigs of the Met itself. I remember enjoying it. We were big fans of the TV show in our house.
Was it completely preposterous?
Yeah, of course it was. But it had lots of, you're nicked. I said apple white. This is Parisian moonlight white. And all that stuff. And, but, you know, going back, so we've had Taxi Driver, yeah, with like two men and a dog.
Yeah.
And then the following, so January the 20th, and we played it on February the 13th. So, yeah, it was... it was the week after Taxi Driver, and we had 1,046 admissions for Sweeney! Exclamation mark.
So, what does that tell us?
It tells us, actually, without being too snooty about it, that people like to see films set in their own culture, doesn't it? Partly.
Right.
And, you know, there was less of that then, unless it was, as I keep banging on about in this show, cheeky chappy running down the street with no trousers on because he's just been caught in flagrante with the accountant's wife. You know, we didn't really see British culture, you know, because TV was doing it, wasn't it? I mean, this has always been the problem for British film, is that TV is very good.
Right.
And reflects, TV drama reflects British culture better than cinema generally has. That's a bit of a sweeping statement, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think broadly that statement stands.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, you had those sort of flowering in the 60s of the sort of soot and whitewash, you know, L-shaped room and all that kind of stuff, which wasn't, you know, hilarious fun. But Sweeney was fun. Actually, the second one, it was better. That was a better film.
Sweeney 2.
No, it was. Yes, Sweeney 2.
Sweeney 2.
But I don't understand why they called it Sweeney! Exclamation mark.
It's the point. It was like a musical.
Yeah, well, it must have been. That would have been great. But I remember enjoying it. But I'm still trying to work out how because I wasn't 15 until the October.
You must have known someone who owned a cinema.
I must have done. That must have been what it was. So, 1,046 admissions, which is a big difference from Taxi Driver. But, we're in the entertainment business. The release date, though, was January the 20th, you see. So it was only 3 weeks old.
Oh, right, yeah.
And this doesn't answer our question, though, does it? So does that mean that Taxi Driver would have been better if it had been only 3 weeks old? Or instead of 10 months old?
If it had been set in Uckfield.
Yeah, probably. Well, you wouldn't get a taxi if it was set in Uckfield. They're rarer than hen's teeth. So, back to another acknowledged 70s classic that failed to generate an audience in rural Sussex. This is a real high-end, happy show this week, isn't it? God knows why. Brian De Palma's Carrie. Now, that's a scary film.
Scary film.
You don't like scary films.
I don't do the scary films.
Don't do scary film.
I do remember watching this one between my fingers.
Oh, you saw it. Excellent. London release in January 77, playing Uckfield on March the 6th. It could only scare up. See what I did there?
You did good. 474
admissions. Have you noticed that seems to be about the level, 400 to 500 admissions, unless it's a Disney half term or this seems to be the level.
Tough crowd. 77 was tough.
It was tough because actually the show has been quite tough. I'm glad you're here, really, because it was the most boring year. We were probably all out.
Happy to help.
Yeah. No. What I mean is we were all out dressing up as, I don't know, page boys to win fancy dress Silver Jubilee competitions.
Oh, right, yes. It was sure where you're going with that.
Actually, Carrie was a big hit in the US and still considered one of the best adaptations of Stephen King's work. It was actually his first book to be published. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
And his first to be adapted. So they probably should have stopped there then. We, of course, thought it was terrifying. I was absolutely petrified by it. And I'm not sure, to be honest, at the time we understood all the subtext about angst.
I'm sure you didn't.
Teen bullying and barely disguised menstrual blood metaphors that were going on all over the place.
That's Brian De Palma at his best. He's doing great work, just making it deep.
And makes you jump like Billy-O at the end. With the hand coming out of the gravestone. That's scary film.
Yeah, it's scary. Like I said, I remember my fingers.
But the score by Pino Donaggio, very specific. I mean, it's almost like Brian De Palma-esque score, isn't it? He must have done other scores.
I don't know very much about him, but I do remember the score sounding very much like a lot of Brian De Palma.
It's a Brian De Palma score because it's the same in with the thing bouncing down the stairs. What's that called? Untouchables. Did he do Untouchables?
Yeah, I thought you were not. Yes. He did do the Untouchables.
But it's the Owen Dressed to Kill, the same thing.
Right.
That kind of elongated, stretched out time to that particular style of.
So you wonder if he was asking for that type of stuff. If he was referencing, maybe he was using like temp music that sounded.
Donaggio, give me a score that would be ideal for my kind of time-stretching weirdness.
Scary violin stretching.
Yeah, because let's have a listen. Anyway, This is the theme from Carrie. So that's Pino Donaggio's score from Carrie, because he did Don't Look Now. That is very reminiscent of the very famous sexy scene from Don't Look Now. And he did the one I just said. He didn't do Dress to Kill then?
I think he did. Did he not?
I don't know. But what we were wrong about Untouchables, that was Ennio Morricone. But that's it's quite Morricone.
Very similar, isn't it? Lots of similar.
Yeah.
The flute and
all that stuff. So, did we say how many came to see it? It was in the 400-500 mark, wasn't it? Not many. Back on safer ground, though. Now, last year, The Return of the Pink Panther had been a big hit worldwide and had done pretty well in Upfield and the rest of the world. So they rushed a follow-up into production, and on reflection, the film feels that way. But at the time, despite my pretensions to lofty cinema ideals and telling everybody what idiots they were for not liking Taxi Driver, I was actually a sucker for it. It's quite ridiculous, with a daft plot about ex-Inspector Dreyfus, who has now gone completely insane.
With his wink.
Kill Clouseau. Threatening to destroy the world, wasn't he?
He had some kind of evil plot to
kill
him because he annoyed everybody. It annoyed him so much.
Because he couldn't kill Clouseau. He sent all those assassins out to kill, and nobody could kill Clouseau.
That's right. He said, "I'm going to use my death threat." He didn't say, "I'm going to kill Clouseau myself."
No.
He said, "I'm going to destroy the world unless
you kill Clouseau." This is ridiculous. I mean, it's now moved so far away from anything that's even vaguely sensible. But does it matter? I don't know.
It was brilliant.
There were some funny set pieces, including Clouseau's repeated attempts to gain access to Dreyfus's lair. I was going to play that music, but we don't have the time now. And actually, Sellers wasn't happy with the finished film, maintaining it wasted his talents. Can you imagine?
I think there comes a point if you're doing a third film.
Fourth, wasn't it? Fourth, yeah. It was his fourth film because he did Pink Panther, Shot in the Dark, Return of the Pink Panther, and this one. So this is his fourth film as Clouseau.
And they ended up doing how many more?
He did another 2, I think, and then they used outtakes from those to construct the others after he died. It was all in horribly bad taste. It really was. And actually, the scene at the end is my favourite, one of my favourites. Do you remember where he comes home and his bedroom's been turned into some kind of love nest with lights? And do you not remember that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, and the bed comes down out of the and Leslie Ann Down is there in a sort of sexy fur coat, and then Tom Jones music starts playing. It's just ridiculous.
Remember the opening scene, which I think was when he drops the rice out of his bag.
And he does that.
Dancing.
See, that is genius comedy because it's really subtle, isn't it? He's so embarrassed, which is ridiculous for Clouseau, that he's got this stuff all over that he starts to do. So
like he meant to spill rice in order to do an impromptu tap dance.
It's kind of ridiculous. So, how many people did we have in for it? We had 1,961 admissions.
Oh, that's a lot.
7 days on April the 17th. So that was Easter holidays. So
is that full up?
Most nights? Well, you see, we only ran once nightly. So we were probably running that twice daily. Because what we used to do was go, people would laugh now. Well, not laugh, but be, hello. I would have been working at the time, actually. So we would do the 2:00 show, which would finish at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Then we'd go home for tea.
Oh, that's true.
And Mum would make us tea. And then we go and open up at 7 o'clock for the 7 o'clock show.
Well, how very civilised.
I know. But probably not, not going to generate the biggest audience, is it?
And was it a double feature, this one?
I don't know. I don't think it was. I think it had I've got the
Sorry,
book.
put you on the spot.
No, the book's out there. I can look it up. So I'm going to play Come to Me. Tom Jones. How are we doing for we're all over the show, mate. This is going wildly off track. Here we go.
And the world will be ours tonight. Make me yours, come and hold me tight. I must have you. Come closer, love me now, and I'll give all I've got to give. Make it soon so that I can live and love and dream for two. I'm here and I'll stay here for at least forevermore. Oh, darling, can't you see? I want you loving me. I need you, come to me, and we'll walk in the sun each day. Summer will be a kiss away. Just wait and see. Oh, what a moment that will be when you come to me.
Chérie, come to me, and the world will be yours tonight. Not be yours, come in here anytime. I must have you.
Come to Me, Tom Jones. Music by Henry Mancini from the Pink Panther Strikes Again. Yes, that's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. I like this Stefan Grappelli sort of bit. So we'll have a break, and then when we come back, a bit of Elvis Costello, a bit of Sinbad, and a bit of Rocky.
Here's something for everyone. Lion's made in a cup for everyone. Lion's made on a stick for everyone. Lion's made. Here's chalk ice for everyone. Lion's made. It's ice cream time with Lion's made.
So funny to be seeing you after so long, girl. And with the way you look, I understand that you were not impressed. But I heard you let that little friend of mine take off your party dress. I'm not gonna get too sentimental like those other sticker valentines. wanna know it isn't mine. Allison, I know this world is killing you. Oh, Allison, my aim is true. Well, I see you got a husband now. Baby, leave your pretty fingers lying in the wedding cake. You used to hold him right in your hand. I bet it took all he could take. Sometimes I wish that I could stop you from talking when I hear the silly things that you say. I think somebody better put out the big light, 'cause I can't stand to see you this way. Allison, I know this world is killing you. My aim is true. My aim is true. My aim is true.
From 1977, which is the year we are covering, Allison from the album My Aim Is True, Elvis Costello. It's Kevin Markwick here on a Monday night in Uckfield, where life is fast and cheap. However, I do have Phil Lott here with me.
Hello, talking.
1-2, all the way from Los Angeles, California. You don't sound like you're from Los Angeles, California, do you?
No, I was brought up down in Hailsham and then moved to Stenning.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Sussex boy.
Yeah. And a maker of great television.
Thank you very much.
And of renowned television the world over. And films. We made films together.
We've made films together. We've written together.
Oh.
Travelled the world together.
All sorts of things we've done together we couldn't possibly say on the radio. So what we're doing is we're going through 1977, which we decided is not, is it?
It was tough. It was a bad...
It's not all that.
Well, aside from the fact that also there were movies being released in America...
Yes.
That you didn't get to see.
Which didn't turn up here until later.
Brilliant movies.
Yeah.
Fantastic movies.
And obviously the elephant in the room being Star Wars.
Yes.
Which didn't come out in the UK until Boxing Day 1977. And then, as you heard, I don't know whether you heard the Jaws story.
Yes.
It's exactly the same story.
Go on.
We wouldn't play it. He would not play it for 4 weeks, 80%.
Was it the terms? It was the terms.
It was terms and having 4 weeks. You had to play it a minimum of 4 weeks, and he would not tie up.
Because he wanted to have...
Well, no, it was a single screen. He felt... I mean, you can kind of understand why you wouldn't want to tie up your one screen for 4 weeks.
With Star Wars.
Yes, we're saying that now. We're saying that now. But we did... I mean, to be fair, it had arrived, hadn't it, in, I mean, it was trumpeted massively. And I saw it... I don't think I saw it until we played it. In the August of 78.
You didn't go down to Eastbourne?
No, I didn't do that. I must have stopped doing that scene then. I must have grown up more and decided that going to see your nan on the bus was less cool. I think I'd discovered Girls a bit by then as well.
And Taxi Driver.
Girls, Taxi Driver.
It's a big year.
It was for me. And not that Girls had discovered me. It was many years before they would discover me. But, yeah, so 77, so I was coming up to 15. What year are you in at school when you're 15?
I don't know. And also, are we talking about...
Fourth year.
Old money schools?
Are we talking about now? Year, so I was probably doing my O-levels. I was like, no, not quite. Oh, I don't know.
Beginning.
Yeah, so being, a man of many talents, of no talents whatsoever, and listeners who have been listening will know my soft spot for Harryhausen's Sinbad films, and actually how they always did well. Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger was no exception. Directed by Sam Wanamaker.
No way.
It was.
Really?
I want to make a Sinbad film. I had to do it. Sorry, everyone. I didn't know that. And another thing that hadn't occurred to me before was, and this is really important,
Yeah.
so I'm jabbing my finger.
Yes, you are.
It was the same year as Star Wars. Now, can you imagine how paltry Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger looked to US audiences
Wow.
against Star Wars?
That is worlds colliding, isn't it?
It really is.
Two era of cinema.
Absolutely.
The new kids on the block.
Yeah. I mean, I love Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger,
Yeah.
and it's got a silly plot, and it's got saber-toothed tigers and a giant walrus.
Not taking anything away from the walrus.
No. But how is it going to compare with Star Wars? I mean, they are light years, literally. Sorry to use that analogy, but they are light years apart, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, well, on paper, it's all they call it execution dependent. You imagine Star Wars could have been.
It could have been Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah, and by the way, when you see the scenes that they cut, have you ever seen that on
No,
YouTube?
I've not, no.
The scenes that they cut from Star Wars in the order that they were meant to be in the original script.
Right.
You see it and you go, I could see why they ended up in the order they were in.
Right, okay.
Because it could have been a lot of running around with a man dressed as a big bear and a...
Really?
Yeah. Could have been all that, couldn't it? But it
But
ended
it's
up...
slick. I mean, sure. I mean, I suppose part of the issue here is that we have had our version of Star Wars methodically erased from our minds, haven't we?
Go on.
Well, because he's tinkered with it so much and added modern special effects so much that if we saw it as it appeared on screen in 77, would it look so different?
I think that's probably the one that you watched on VHS in the 80s over and over again. That's probably the one that's seared on my brain.
At worst, it was the travelling mat, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, the wiggly
The travelling
black
mat
line
on the TIE
outside
fighters is about as bad as it got, I think.
Yes. That's the the bit of black there to project onto the film to tell it not to be stars.
And that was really... So you compare that to Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, poor Ray.
Yeah.
And this is why it was the last Sinbad film they ever made, really. I mean, apart from it being ethnically questionable, wasn't it? Because Patrick Wayne was Sinbad. Not very Arabic. Is that the word?
Culturally appropriated.
Culturally appropriate. There we go.
Word you're looking for.
So Patrick Wayne, Tarin Power.
Oh, Tarin
Power,
fine.
daughter of Tyrone Power. That must have caused confusion around their house.
Oh, I didn't know that. He used to get his mail. It's true.
Jane Seymour, Patrick Troughton. There was a baboon because he had turned him into a baboon.
No, I had forgotten that.
They turned the prince. They turned the prince into a baboon, so they had to go and find the magic elixir or something to turn him from a baboon back into.
Why was that? Is it because he was who was turned into which?
The prince. I don't know.
Was he cheaper as a baboon?
Again,
for a few
bear in
weeks
mind,
of
I'm
filming?
14, approaching 15. I'm slightly more focused on Tarin Power and Jane Seymour. Apparently. Music by Roy Budd. Oh, hang on. Let's do the emissions. 1,925 emissions. See? Did okay. In 7 days on August the 28th. And the music was by Roy Budd, it was a bit odd because in fact, it had been a big score by... The previous one was scored by Maurice Jarre.
Oh, yeah. I do. I remember that score.
And Roy Budd, did he not do, Get Carter?
Ah, yes.
Which is a bit strange. But anyway, let's hear some of the music. This is called Petra from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Okay, so it's kind of hardcore underscore, isn't it, that?
It's a bit second level.
Yeah, from Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, which in the UK didn't suffer from comparisons with Star Wars as it must have done in the US. So, another 70s landmark now that went down the toilet in Uckfield. Well, that still works, doesn't it?
Oh, big finish. That's great.
That's like one of those great... I was never a massive fan of the Rocky films, but that whole sequence, the way it builds and builds and builds and builds, right till he's on the top of the... It's Pittsburgh. Is it Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh Library.
Yeah. Just proper job cinema. But nobody came to see it. So that's Bill Conti's iconic music from Oscar-winning Rocky, which set Sylvester Stallone off to stardom and spawned an endless number of increasingly rubbish sequels. A paltry 371 admissions. Yeah? 7 days on July the 17th. I wonder if it was hot. 76 was the hot.
Yeah, so this must have been a relief.
This must have been, always blinking chilly. It wasn't old either, actually. It was released in the UK in April 77, so it wasn't like super old. And it had been the highest grossing film of 1976 in the US.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and won the Oscar for Best Picture at the 1977 Academy Awards. So,
what's there to go and see?
What? Yeah, what?
Why would you go and see
Didn't
it?
help here, though. No, sir. The only Rocky film to take money in Uckfield was Rocky 3, presumably on the back of the Eye of the Tiger song. So what should we do now? Eagles Landed or Star is Born?
I think Star is Born.
Yeah? Okay. Latest version of Star is Born is doing brisk business in cinemas worldwide. The previous version with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson was also a big hit. We've been playing it for a lot of the summer at the cinema we had in Eastbourne at the time. We had a cinema in Eastbourne.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Tivoli. Tivoli.
Where was what street?
That's in Seaside Road. Not too far from, well, the What's It Hotel.
Yes.
See, this is why I write things down. Anyway, if you live in Eastbourne, you'll know where I mean.
Yeah, next to the What's It.
The What's It Hotel. And I remember, because I showed it all summer, it was when I learnt to show films on old Cayley 21 projectors. Changeovers.
You can still tell us where the changeovers are.
Yeah,
in that film, I'm
changeovers.
sure.
Yeah, and Star is Born probably.
Yeah, same.
I could probably say when the changeovers were. Jaws, that summer as well, we ran a lot, and Star is Born, and the double feature Blazing Saddles and Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Bizarre.
Little circle, top right.
Well, yeah, little circle, top right, changeover. And because I know it had played forever at the ABC round the corner, and then because we were second run in Eastbourne at the time. Well, it was always second run, the Tivoli, and picked it up after the ABC had run it for. Well, when was it released? March. No. And we came to it in Uckfield in September, so it was released in March, and then we played it in the summer at our cinema in Eastbourne, and then it finally arrived in Uckfield in September, and it was all right. It did good business. 867 admissions.
I was going to ask.
Which is neither here nor there, is it? It's like, it's okay.
It's not as low as some of them.
No, but not as high as some of the others.
No. Exactly, so on balance.
But what I'm going to do, how are we doing? Okay, I'm not going to play Evergreen,
No.
Barbra Streisand.
You're not going to do that? You can do the Janet.
No, I'm going to do...
The Janet Gaynor one?
No. I'm going to play from that film.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play the opening song, because actually, what's his pants? Sexy Pants, who's done the new one, can't think of his name.
Oh yeah,
him.
Yeah.
Maintains that it's not a remake, but when you whiz through the old this version, it's the same really. Yeah. So it starts off with him at a rock concert playing music in exactly the same way. In fact, there was somebody who did a master. What do they call it? A sort of super
master mix. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, on YouTube, and all of the shots in the film where they say, "I just want to have one look at you."
I think it was Barbra Streisand did it.
Is it?
Did it itself. Prove a point.
But there's a scene, I don't know if you've seen the new one, but they say, he goes, "I just want one more look at you." And that is in every single version of Star is Born. So,
Going back to
the original, 1936, 37, Janet Gaynor, Frederick March. And so, wasn't as original as all that, was it? Anyway, this is Chris Christopherson. Watch closely now.
Okay, folks, the John Norman Howard Speedway.
Watch closely now. You'll observe a curious exchange of energy. Are you a figment of my imagination? Or I one of yours? Watch closely now. Are you watching me now? The rise of light fingers, the touch in my body, in the blouse in my soul. Riding the fashion, rising inside me, how high can I go? You're coming with me, girl, I'm gonna show you how. Can be scary, don't look down. Watch closely now. Are you watching me now? I see the hunger rise in your eyes, and it's urging me on. Higher and harder and faster and farther than I've ever gone. But coming closer, lady, don't you leave me now. We're gonna make it. Don't look down. Baby, I'm taking me to chasing who's setting you free from the lies you know. When the break in your back brings your last straw to me, I turn slowly to go. I'm gonna lead you later when you're not around, but I can take it. Don't look down. Watch closely now. Are you watching me now? Wow, 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 wow.
Kevin Markwick.
105 Uckfield FM.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best. I wasn't looking, but somehow you found me. I tried to hide from your love light, but like heaven above me, the spy who loved me is keeping all my secrets safe tonight. And nobody does it better. Though sometimes I wish someone could. Nobody does it quite the way you do. Why'd you have to be so good? The way that you hold me, whenever you hold me, there's some kind of magic inside you that keeps me from running, but just keep it coming. How'd you learn to do the things you do? And nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, baby, darling, you're the best. Baby, you're the best. Baby, you're the
Oh, it's great stuff. That's that was very DJ, wasn't it? Oh, it's great stuff.
Not off.
I do try and stop being all DJ about it. Nobody does it better. Carly Simon from The Spy Who Loved Me, which, let's face it, is Dodger's best, isn't it? Do you think?
I think it was his best.
Yeah, all round.
I do.
Because it was the one that I think he found the right balance between smirkiness and seriousness. And it was also, doing the research about it, what's interesting was that it hit the zeitgeist, didn't it? Because you had the bit with the Union Jack.
The best opening of a film.
Yeah, with the ski chase and the Union Jack. And, of course, it was Jubilee year. So you had all of that going on, and it just hit the spot. Rather like, in fact, the next time Bond would hit the spot, obviously, would be Skyfall.
Right.
During the
Olympics.
The Olympics.
With the jumping and then with the
and
Queen.
All of that stuff. And so occasionally Bond does this. It just hits the zeitgeist. I mean, obviously it was a global hit and a worldwide success, but it does do that. He had a zingy screenplay by Christopher Wood, who I think wrote those saucy books, didn't he, Christopher Wood? Or I might be wrong, I don't know. Directed by...
Sounds like he's the correct name for Assassin's Creed.
You Only Live Twice veteran Lewis Gilbert, who also did Alfie and films like that, didn't he? Jubilee Year, and the opening ski chase with the Union Jack parachute. No John Barry this time, though. Apparently he was unable to work in the UK for tax reasons.
Oh, it's one of those 70s years.
70s. So my heart bleeds.
Yeah.
I mean, really. So they drafted Marvin Hamlish in, and actually he did a really fine job. The title song he wrote with his partner, Carol Bear Sager, Nobody Does It Better, is one of the most successful Bond songs of them all, as sung by Carly Simon. It's not the most Bondy sounding Bond, though, is it? But somehow it
works.
It was perfect, absolutely perfect. And of course, every single one of the composers who gets to have a go at Bond also gets to go at the Bond theme and do their own kind of various sort of versions of it. And he really discoed it up.
Is that what played?
Bond 77 it's called. So I'm going to play that now, and that's the one that's actually the opening sequence with the ski chase that ends with the bom 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 bom. Well, you'll see. Here we go. just completely stopped.
Well, that's...
It's a good job I'm on the ball. Oh, that's a shame, because I was hoping for the do bit, with the... Because that stunt was extraordinary, wasn't it?
It was absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah, directed by... it was actually John Glenn, the second unit director.
Not the Spaceman.
No.
Sorry.
Just to be clear, because he went on and directed other James Bond films. In fact, is he not? He's not the one married to Mrs. Is he? No.
Is it Mrs. Clare?
Mrs. Broccoli. No, I don't think. No, I might be getting more.
Let's
move on. I mean, it was occasionally Bond does this. Everything comes together. It's absolutely perfect. The story clicks along. Some great set pieces. The pyramids. Jaw. That was apparently lit. That I don't know if you read the story about that. We're going to get geeky a bit now. How much light he didn't use to light that sequence. The Renoir who shot it.
Yeah.
Hardly anything, and he lit it all himself. Those, you can see all the lights up on the pyramids. Yeah. He lit all of that.
That was all
for Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah. And it was apparently quite a masterclass in... But you were looking at a story, actually, that I discovered as well, that his eyesight was failing a bit.
Going during that whole film.
Yeah. And actually, because one of the things they did was build the Ken Adams set, which is one of the most extraordinary things in it, with the 3 nuclear subs.
Yeah.
This massive set. And he was not entirely clear how to light it. And the story goes that he called up his mate Stanley Kubrick.
Really?
To come in and give him, and so Kubrick didn't want to, step on anyone's toes. So I sneaked in on a Sunday morning.
Brilliant.
To show, and Kubrick came up with some ideas how to light it. Because how do you photograph a set like that actually? Because it's so big. I have been inside that. I went inside that 007 stage because I think it's burnt down, fallen over, and sunk into the swamp several times, isn't it? Since, because I don't think that the one that's there at Pinewood now is as big as the first one they built.
I wouldn't want to comment.
I don't think it is. Because I went in there. They had a Pinewood open day.
Yeah.
In 78.
Yes.
77, 78.
Famously.
Once.
Yes.
And I asked the guy from Pinewood about this relatively recently. Why did they never do it again? And he said because it caused absolute mayhem. The police and the authorities would not let them do it again because to get to Pinewood is not the easiest thing in the world.
Used to be old wiggly
old country roads, and it just completely gridlocked everything. But I did see the Lotus from Spy Who Loved Me.
By the way, that was that was my Bond car.
Was it the Lotus?
Brilliant. Yeah. With the wheels that
turned in. Wheels that turn in and turns into a submarine. And
he drives up on the beach, and the guy does the double take with the bottle of wine.
The bottle of wine, all of that stuff is in there. And I remember as a kid being slightly disappointed they killed the lady in the helicopter off so quickly.
Oh, yes. That's a black helicopter as well, wasn't it?
They killed her, and she'd only been in it for 2-3 minutes.
She made an impression.
Janet Munro, is it? No, not Janet Munro. Caroline Munro, who'd been in Golden Voyage of Sinbad and the advert for fags. Or something. I don't know. She was in an advert for something. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, just absolutely brilliant. And so they were actually building the Superman set when I went into the 007 stage.
Really?
For the North Pole.
Yeah.
Bit. The Ice Palace thing. But they had loads of Bond stuff there, and they still had the submarine. They had the Pinewood tank. With the boats on it still, the big tanker on there,
brilliant.
And you could, because if you sort of crouch down because it's quite a high brick wall, isn't it?
Yeah, it has the infinity.
And if you could, they had steps on it, so you could put your eye and see along the horizon with the ship. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I wish they'd do it again. So we haven't got time to play Ride to Atlantis, unfortunately, because I'm already way over date. So I've got to do a break, and when we come back, what are we going to do? Who knows?
Kevin Markwick.
A better variety of music. Uckfield FM.
Yes, it is Kevin Markwick. What I'm talking about, we've got about 20 minutes to go of 1977, which frankly is a bit of a relief. Because apart from James Bond, which was a high point for me, and actually this is going to sound really silly and pretentious, but I wrote about it on my blog.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so you can go to kevinmarkwick.co.uk, and I don't blog very often, but I did write about The Spy Who Loved Me because it did have... it was like my first Bond that I was directly involved with, so it had quite a big impact on me. And it did so because I didn't say about the business, did I? No. July 1977 it was released.
Yeah.
And that was about one of the first ones where they made it exclusive to coastal cinemas only. Bizarre.
Because of summer?
Strategy. Yeah. So it played at the Odeon Leicester Square for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it went out coastals only. And I do remember this getting right up my dad's nose because you had to be, so because George, who was in charge of United Artists at the time, their release strategy, he had this theory that you should play it at coastal. So it played Brighton, obviously, but Bournemouth and Blackpool, right. And anywhere that had the sea lapping at it. This is what my dad used to say: it could be the biggest flea pit in the world, but if it had the sea lapping at its doorstep, it got the blinking Bond, which really upset him. And so the date we played it, which was September the 18th, would have been the third week of London release. This is getting quite arcane now. Yeah. But it's still quite a way off. It's quite late, really, isn't
Everyone's back to work and
Gone back to work, been on holiday, seen the Bond. And it played for 14 days, so UA would have still been insisting on 2 weeks. 1,635 admissions the first week and 1,072 admissions the second week. So it was okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, but it would have done better if it had played in the summer, wouldn't it?
Did you have Eastbourne at the time?
We did. Now, I'm going to bore the pants off you now. With a story about that, because we wanted to play, because we had, this might get a bit hardcore, but
I'm staying with you.
Yeah, the Curzon Cinema in Eastbourne was the first run cinema on rank release, because there was rank and ABC release at the time. I have talked about this in the show before, where certain studios went out on the ABC circuit and other studios went out on the rank circuit, Odeon, if you like. Now, Curzon was on the rank circuit release. It was an independent, but it had first run rank films, R-A-N-K.
Right.
Odeon. First run Odeon release. So UA went through, it was a rank release, so he had the Bond and he had A Bridge Too Far. Okay?
Right.
But for some bizarre reason, he played them alternately. He had a 3-screen cinema. It was 3-screen then, but he played them alternately. So he had a week of Spy Love Me and a week of Bridge Too Far. Week of Spy Love Me, week of Bridge Too Far. All through the summer. So I remember my dad getting really upset with United Artists because he said, well, can I come in at the Tivoli on the week that it's not playing? So when, it's still his first run prerogative, but when he's not playing Spy Love Me, let me play Spy Love Me. And when he's not playing Bridge Too Far, I'll play Bridge Too Far.
What did they say?
Eric wouldn't like it.
Oh.
The guy that ran the Curzon at the time. He would not allow it. He just wouldn't let them do it.
So you had neither?
So in the middle of the summer in Eastbourne, which even in 1977 there still was a season to be had, it had no representation in Eastbourne for a whole 7 days when it could have been taking money at our cinema at the Tivoli. Bizarre. That was the sort of thing that needed to be broken up and really wasn't challenged until the early 80s, really.
Really?
When those changed, running time, because now they can only ask for 2 weeks. They couldn't ask for 4 weeks like they used to. And all that kind of thing. But, just real dog in the manger stuff. So Bridge Too Far is the other film we're going to cover. Dick here.
I
haven't written anything down about it at all.
What's your memory of it?
My memory is that it was very long.
It's a long bridge.
Well, was it, though? Richard Dickey, of course.
Dickey.
Oh, screenplay by William Goldman.
Yeah.
Who left us this week.
God bless him.
God bless him. And look at that cast. Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Edward Fox, Elliot Gould, Anthony Hopkins, Gene Hackman, Hardy Kruger, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neill, Robert Redford, Maximilian Schell and Liv Ullmann.
It would have been easier to have a list of who wasn't in it.
It really would, wouldn't it? Was it good?
I remember it being great. But I was young and it was guns and running. I remember shooting from the hip. I remember running across the bridge shooting from the hip.
Yeah. Because it's about Arnhem, we should say.
Well, which interestingly, talking about British war films, was not a huge success, was it?
No, it didn't do Dickey's career too much good, did it? I don't know what he made after that. What did he make?
Well, everything else.
Everything else. Did he make Gandhi after that? No.
82.
Did he?
I think he might have done.
What, Gandhi 2?
The Reckoning.
Oh, wow. He was in a lot of films, wasn't he? I don't want the films he was in. I want the films he directed. So he did... Oh, Magic was the next film, which is an even bigger flop.
Yes.
With Anthony Hopkins
playing a magician.
Yeah, with the dummy.
ventriloquist.
And then he made Gandhi, which was like his crowning moment, wasn't it? In 1982.
Third time's a...
Yeah, well, I don't know. I loved Oh, What a Lovely War. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. I think that's probably, for me, that and Gandhi are his best films, I think.
Amazing.
But yeah, Bridge Too Far, and Barry Norman famously said it was an hour too long. That was his thing. But yeah, it was kind of an attempt, I suppose, to do that sort of bit like The Longest Day, and but I don't know.
Yeah,
I've got the Blu-ray and I haven't watched it again recently. I haven't seen it in many years. No, I don't have fond memories of it. I don't remember thinking, "Oh, this is a great movie," but I'll need to have a look at it again. But I think I'd rather watch Where Eagles Dare again. That's how my so the music was by...
Who did it?
It was it was somebody English.
Local from Cobham.
Really?
I think. I was just looking him up.
Oh, who was it? We should know this, shouldn't we? It was it was somebody famous. John Addison. John Addison,
yeah.
Which is very kind of
from West Chobham.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. I'm going to play Bridge Too Far. Oh, there's 14 minutes and 41 seconds of this. I don't think I'm going to be playing for, given that we've only got 8 minutes, 10 less, well, whatever, 13 minutes of the show to go. I'm going to play a bit of a Bridge Too Far anyway. So there we are. John Addison's score for A Bridge Too Far. It's all right, actually.
It
kind of does what it's supposed to do, doesn't it? Because what we were just talking about while it was playing was, of course, that it wasn't a great success. Operation Market Garden, I mean.
Yeah.
So it's a British war film about an operation that didn't go very well.
Very well.
So do you think that may have had an impact on the box office? I don't know. Because I'm looking at it here in the book.
You're just talking about Dunkirk.
Yes.
Another one,
okay.
Which was a success in its own way,
well,
but it wasn't
I know, because
an obvious...
Yes, but we've talked about this a lot over the last year or so.
Yeah.
You know, this idea that...
if you play it in America...
Actually, yeah, it's...
to play it in reverse.
No, but Dunkirk is very famously... Or do you think we've made it a success?
I think it's a very British lens through which to see it, but I mean, because obviously it's the long game, it's the big picture.
I think so. Whereas Market Garden... Bridge Too Far was just a bit of a shit show or something. I don't know. I'm trying to find it here. So Bridge Too Far, here we are, October the 30th it played. So again, it had been running all summer everywhere else. And we finally picked it up on October the 30th, but it was 2 weeks, which meant that UA was still insisting on a 2-week booking. This is what we were up against, obviously. So when he wanted to play it, I remember him saying that about The Godfather was... he never played it because it was one of his things. You know, we've all got dads that say the same thing, haven't we? There's the things that they say. Yes. And one of them, in my family, sadly, it was about film bookings. But it wasn't like, I always eat cheese on a Wednesday. It was, I didn't play The Godfather because they wanted 4 weeks for it, and when I was prepared to give them 2 weeks for it, they wanted 3 weeks, and when I was prepared to give them a week for it, they wanted 2, and so we never played it.
Didn't that the Operation Spite Your Face?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. Godfather, difficult to say. So anyway, we had 816 admissions week 1.
Yep.
And 744 admissions week 2. So not a total disaster, but not great.
In October.
How many months after the release?
Right. Cold nights drawing in.
Yeah. £1,160 and 18 pence it took over the 2 weeks. If I was any kind of mathematician, I'd be able to work out what that is. So I've got to do a break, otherwise I'll be in big trouble. And I haven't actually loaded it, so I should probably do that, shouldn't I? There you go. I'll put it in that one, and we'll play that, and then we'll sort of have a talk around the sort of... Because, you know, we need to draw a veil over 77, I think.
It's time to move on,
Time to move on. Here we go. Time to move on, mate. Here's a break.
Kevin Markwick.
105 Uckfield FM.
So we've kind of put 1977 to bed a bit in our own slightly rubbish style-y. Thanks, Phil, for coming in. That was fantastic.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's really good to see you. And I wish we could do more. Maybe we should do live hookups from LA. That would be the best thing. We're just trying to... How long have I got? I've got 2 minutes, 36 seconds. No, we're all right. I was just looking... See, look, Confessions from a Holiday Camp. We were still running this stuff in 77. And if you do a sort of Wikipedia or a search of 77, it's not... So 1978, which actually I meant to tell you was the last whole year, 1978, of the single screen cinema. It was a bit of a bum steer I gave you. So moves were already afoot to make things better, and it really did make things better. I can tell you all about that in the upcoming show. What we're going to do is we're going to play this. Can you hear that? Scary film. It's The Omen.
Oh, I don't know what's like. It scares.
Phil doesn't like scary films.
Scary film.
This absolutely terrified me when I saw it the first time.
Why on earth?
In 1977. And, OK, so I'm going to play you out with Jerry Goldsmith's score. That's right, from The Omen, which I think is pretty much one of the great scores, really scary scores of all time. And thank you very much. Do let me know what you think of the show at Kevin Markwick on Twitter, Kevin Markwick Show on Facebook page, any way you like. Just it's terrifying. I'll turn my thing around so you can hear it. But please do tune in next week. Download the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And it'll just be me next week. Back to normality. But thanks again, and hopefully you'll give us a listen this week. I love you all. Bye.